Good evening, Mike.
Are we connected? All right, good. Doing well. Do we want to, David? Are you there?
Sure, think so.
There you go. Okay. All right. I got you. Yeah, it wasn't coming through.
Oh, okay, okay. Just wondering, this team has endured so much this year. What was your message to them yesterday after they gave themselves an opportunity to play their way in next weekend?
Frankly, in the post game, just really talked about they deserved they deserve what with the success that we've accomplished here of late, and I just think was really feeding off of the message in prior weeks where all the adversity and the number of things and so many different challenges would definitely pay forward, and I just was I was just really happy for our football team. I mean, these guys have endured a lot. We still have another excellent opportunity in front of us, but just the game, I thought it was a great reflection of all three phases coming together, and it was an excellent win at a time where we're running out of chances here. So it's that was pretty much the message.
Would you say you're more impressed with how they've held together during this, or is this really more of an expectation of what you want to see from your teams going forward? Would you lean toward one or the other of those words to describe how you feel about what they've done to this point?
I mean, really, I think it's a combination of both. I think clearly that you always operate from the platform of expectations. You're always trying to reach and standards, uphold the standards, and everything you do, whether it's the way the way you meet, the instruction, the resources that go into the instruction, the way you practice, the way your warm up looks, but ultimately the way you play, especially through the adversity on the field, adverse situations, the game management, and the situational football that you spend so much time on. And so I think we talk about expectation, but the process of always educating and upholding it is what you're after. But am I clearly? I'm so impressed because of all the things that we've had to deal with off the field. I mean, I think every club has gone through tremendous strife and challenges from things we would never even expect, or that you kind of were making adjustments on the go too. So yeah, I mean, I can't, I'm proud of our guys. Our guys, they show up every day. They don't blink. They work hard. We haven't really had a whole lot of nonsense or anything to pull us away from why we're all here. So I am impressed, but it is the expectation and the standard and the function of how we want to operate as a football organization.
Coach, do you anticipate anything going on with Kellen and Boise to impact his ability to prepare for this week?
Well, number one, I'm not worried about Kellen's preparation. I think he had an excellent week last week and thought he called an excellent game. So, and as far as the Boise State situation, I spoke on it yesterday after the game, and I really don't have anything else to add to it. So.
What was the difference with Zeke? Was the week off being healthy? Was he certainly made a lot of people look spry, look strong again on Sunday?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's no doubt the week off helped him immensely. I mean, you could see it just the way he came back in practice. It's week 17. Guys are beat up. They've been through a lot. Obviously, the demanding responsibilities of the run back position. So yeah, I think the week off clearly helped him.
Mike, you mentioned that in Green Bay on defense, interceptions often came more easily for y'all than fumbles. Even if you only recovered one of them, what impressed you most about Randy's 3-force yesterday and how impactful his pressure was?
It's just they're they're harder to come by. It has been my experience. So just, his intensity, his relentlessness, and, his ability to, strike on the area of the football. So, I mean, it's a skill. It's a fine motor skill that these guys put a lot of time and energy into, and to be able to execute it. And I mean, forcing 3 fumbles in a game is, that's an impressive performance. And, well, excuse me, 4. Well, Randy had 3, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Randy had 3. We had a total of 4, which is, obviously an impressive. That's what you're looking for. Getting that ball out and just keep creating those opportunities to take the ball away.
And you also mentioned that you like how the defense is working together more now. Can you speak more to where you see the biggest changes in the cohesiveness on the field? And did you change anything about the workflow off the field to get them more on the same page?
Well, I mean, it's such a it's a different it's a lot different answer than that would apply to your question. I mean, what I'm talking about is there's a whole other element involved in having groups meet together. I mean, we've gone through a number of COVID protocol processes that have changed our work area. Our meeting rooms have changed a number of times. So I mean, it's been a little bit of a moving adjustment, to moving target to establish that. So, but the fact that we are fortunate to have this beautiful facility and the square footage has still given us the ability to meet together. But it's I guess what I'm trying to say, there's not just like we had one set meeting structure that we changed to another, and now we're communicating better. That wouldn't be accurate. So it's just the fact that we're still able to spend a lot of time together as a defense. I think has definitely been beneficial for both the coaches and the players. That makes sense. I know it's a long answer, but there's a number of things that have changed throughout the year as far as meetings.
Mike, as you go through this stretch here where you won these 3 games in a row, is there anything that you could look at and say, I wish you would have done this thing or that thing earlier to get to this point sooner? Do you play that game at all?
I don't. I mean, you have a schedule, you have a plan, you work the plan, you're evaluating everything you do from the first day you get together as a football team. So, as a head coach, you have a vision of what your expectation is, what's it supposed to look like. Some things took longer than others to get it there, but I think it's really an illustration of how important time together is, whether it's the off-season program, whether it's training camp. So yeah, I don't look back and, it's just, I think a lot of these things are normal. It takes, you've got a different group of men working together doing different things for the first time. So I think a lot of our process is similar to my past experiences.
And you guys had crowds, obviously, at every single game you played. I think you averaged almost 28,000 a game. Could you sense any benefit to that yesterday, that there was some crowd noise? Obviously, they had some false starts and issues up front. Do you think there was a benefit to the crowd, not only yesterday, but during the course of the season?
Definitely. I think the fact that we have fans at home, every week, it does still give you the home field advantage. Obviously, the volume of noise is not what it typically is in the regular season. But yeah, it's great to have the fans there. It's really probably more the visual than the vocal part of it. So yeah, I know our team has a total different vibe playing at home than in some of these empty stadiums that we played in.
Some of the changes that you went through in defensive team meetings and stuff like that, how much are coaches and players creatures of habit, and are there a couple of examples of how that has really illustrated that you've seen this year as you guys have gone through this?
Well, you really can't compare it because every coach has a way that he's accustomed to doing things. The players that have been here in the past were exposed to certain ways of how they do things, and the fact of the matter is, because you didn't have the off season in the training camp, you really never got to establish what the norm was, if that makes sense. So we've been working together in the in a pandemic. So everything we've done from our first meeting has been adjusted. It's just hasn't been the old norm, or the old norm of how it was done here, or the norm of what I experienced in the past, and you could probably say that for pretty much all the coaches too. So that's the reality of this year.
Andy told us, going all the way back to when he signed, that he felt like he could still be a starter in this league. What have you seen from him, keeping the focus on this team, and now when he's got that question hanging over his head about what the future holds for him?
Well, I think the future. Those are really questions for after the season. But I mean, just watch the way he operates. I mean, he's been a joy to coach. His function in the room and how he prepares is, as a starter would. He's been great for our younger quarterbacks. So, as far as evaluation, I think there's no doubt that Andy could be a starter in this league. But, he's done a great job in our time together here.
You guys found a role on defense yesterday for CJ Goodwin. Can you explain some of the thinking behind that sub package and how you regard its effectiveness?
It's a personnel package that we felt that we're going to get on. I'm not going to get into specifics of scheme and things like that. There's no benefit in that. But CJ's someone that we hold in high regard, and just to have the opportunity to get him on the field and play in that package is just really a credit to him, and just focusing on what we're trying to get done in certain situations.
And you spend a lot of time working so that your team can play its best football late in the season. As you look back, what tactics do you believe have been effective in achieving that aim?
I mean, you can't really compare this year to prior years. So, to have certain tactics that I would say align with how I've done things in the past. This would not be an accurate comparable, but I think, like anything, the health of your football team really is a big part of how you train your team throughout the season. I think the fact that we've been able to stay with our full workload of what we want to get done on the practice field Wednesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays has been beneficial for us, and it's probably more the product of having a 70-man roster to work with than having specific things that I feel that are helping us play better at the end of the year. I think that the time that you put into your young players, the focus there is always an attribute that benefits you, because this year that would be one thing that is consistent this year. Prior years, your young players are playing a lot more, and I think our coaches and I think our young players have done a heck of a job getting ready to play December football.
Hit the 1,000-yard season mark yesterday for the 5th time in his career. Over the past year, watching him in practice and games, what impresses you about his route running and consistent ability to create separation?
Well, he's very consistent. He's so explosive. I mean, his ability to play inside and outside. He also has the vertical speed to go over the top. So, and I think if you watch his season, the productivity just this year, my experience is, he just kind of chips away at you, and then all of a sudden, he has that ability to break the long ones. So, I think that speaks to his numbers. I mean, he's push. He'll probably push over 90 catches for plus over 1,000 yards. I mean, that's workload, and I think it just really goes to Amari's skill set. I mean, he's a receiver that really has all the tools.
Mike, are we seeing the process play out between play caller and quarterback and comfort level with Kellen and Andy here? That the more they've gotten to know each other, what each other likes, doesn't like, that there's a benefit there. How long does it take a play caller to become comfortable with a quarterback? Usually, in your, I'm not asking for a time frame, but just in your history.
I mean, I agree with your insight there. I think it's a great point. I mean, I can't just put a date on it because obviously there's so many other moving factors. Especially in a year where you have a lot of change, whether it's a change in your offensive line, like Andy's experienced, and then he had the challenge of missing a couple weeks too. So, but yeah, I think Kellen and Andy have done a really good job of being on the same page, and and you could take it also to Kellen's play calling, just the fact that he's had to get comfortable with all the changes and manage the different matchups that we have week in and week out. But I think those two guys are really working well together and are definitely in a groove right now.
And do you anticipate Zach doing anything this week in practice? And I'm also, if I can get a quick one, another one at the offensive line. With the returns next year of Tyron Smith and La'el Collins and Zach to full health, what kind of depth do you think you guys have built this year up front, considering you've had to play so many young guys?
Well, I think stating the obvious, the fact that they've played as much, and the obvious one is Terrence Steele. I mean, you just think that you have an undrafted free agent. It's pretty much started all year. So yeah, I think it definitely helps us for next year, and that's really how these years go, where these young players, and that's why you have to have a process of making sure they're developing, because you really don't want them to play until they're ready. And but we've had a number of young guys that have been playing them most of the year, and especially down a stretch here. I mean, you just look at our special teams, the youth that we have on our special teams right now, and those guys are playing at a high level.
Mike, circling back on Andy a little bit and Todd's question earlier, you obviously had a very good assessment of Dalton and what he could do and felt good about him, but actually working with him and that position is so much nuance and the small things you look for in a play. What can you say about what you've gotten from him or maybe what you've seen from Andy that maybe even exceeds what your impression was of him when you pinpointed him as a guy you wanted to have on this team?
It really, David, goes down to how you define experience. I mean, when you talk about a certain play or a certain concept, I mean, Andy has 10 plus years in this league and has done such a great job documenting everything that he's been involved in, every play, every concept, protection, adjustments. So, I mean, he's a tremendous resource just from his own experiences. And I think that's where people sometimes, tend to forget because, just going through it in this up in Green Bay with Aaron, he's been a starter since 2008, and you have over 1,000 plays in an off season. You have over 1,000 plays in a regular season, so you build up such a volume of experience in particular concepts, and the reaction from the defense, the variations that come off that concept. I mean, it just gives you such an ability to play faster, but to be able to adjust it to different perimeter guys that play on that concept. So he brings that wealth of experience, and with that comes the details and the teaching and how exactly do we, because not everybody, most teams run similar concepts, but everybody runs it maybe a little differently, and what footwork to use with the quarterback, under center and in the gun. Do you, when certain routes to your left, do you kick step or you drop step? So it's just all those little things that go into quarterback play, and Andy he's on top of it. I mean, he's got a great great wealth of knowledge, particularly on the specifics of playing quarterback in a number of different offenses.
Mike, go ahead.
I'm sorry. we talked about Amari getting over 1,000. Zeke and CD have an opportunity to get over 1,000 yards respectively. Is that important?
Is it important to me or
For Zeke to top 1,000 yards and CD to get 1,000 yards receiving?
Yeah, I think 1,000 yards is a mark. It's definitely a threshold that you like to see your players obtain. Yeah, so I mean I'd say it's important, but I think also the most important is we put together a game plan and that best puts us in position to beat the Giants, and obviously those guys will be a part of that plan.
Mike, you've talked about how key that 4-0 run at the end of your first year in Green Bay was. Y'all won't know if you're able to beat the Giants, what that will mean for playoff implications until later in the night. But what would it mean to finish the season with 4 wins, even if you don't clinch a playoff berth?
Well, everything we do in this game is about how you finish, whether it's a play, a practice, and it's no different. Every NFL team's guaranteed 16 opportunities when you start this, this journey. So the fact that we have the opportunity to finish the right way, finish playing the best football that we played all year, because 4 wins would give us that, and that's really where my mindset is just we want to finish this season and this regular season, and hopefully we have the opportunity to continue, but this is all about finishing the guaranteed opportunity, especially against a division opponent that, and these games are usually the hardest in my view, the division games, and it definitely gives us a chance to finish with some momentum.
Do you send the Eagles some watermelons just in case it would help them beat Washington?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. Yep, sorry about that.
And I'm not sure we got it answered earlier. Zach, where is Zach Martin in his recovery? And is there a chance he could play this week?
He's making progress, but I really won't have a handle on it until Wednesday. So I actually haven't received a training report from today yet. So I really don't have any updates.
Also wanted to check on Connor Williams. He was announced as a knee issue in the press box, but didn't miss a snap. Just checking on him.
I think I have no reason to think that he wouldn't go Wednesday, but as I said, I have not talked to Jim and Britt yet to get the final update after all the exams today.
I didn't know if this was figurative or literal when you said it last night, but because of the end of the first half and the start of the second, are players actually getting Whataburgers on Wednesday?
Well, we'll have to wait and see on that. So it's a double-double. So it's something that we identify, and if you look it up statistically, how valuable it is and how it rates to a success rate of winning a football game. So it's just another way of emphasizing the importance of scoring on the way in and scoring on the way out.
And my last question was already asked, so I'm good.
Okay.
We'll finish up with Calvin.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, I'm sorry. I know this year, hopefully no one will have to go through this year again, but traditionally your teams have finished strong in December, even when you were in Green Bay. Can you pinpoint to why you guys finished strong just in general late in the year?
Well, I mean, it's a mindset. It's something that's talked about, and as far as how we train, scheduling. I think scheduling and how you train your football teams is obviously very important. Probably more important than maybe some others think. We spend a lot of time in that. I believe in trend lines and the opportunity to try to hit certain targets, and because at the end of the day, we've all seen it happen. You get hot in December. It's it's the way you want to enter the playoffs. So because anything can happen in the playoffs. So it's something I've always focused on and always talk about it with the team and pay close attention to how we're training our football team, particularly coming out of October into November and then into December.
One last one. Tyler Williams has missed like one snap all year. What does it say about just his strength and his ability you've had so many changes on the line, and he's been a very durable guy for you all year.
Yeah, and I really speaks to him as a person and a football player because he's the same person every day. I mean, he practices the same way. He's very consistent in everything he does, and it's great to see him come back off the injury from last year. So he's poured a lot into this in the off season. I know just when we arrived here as a new staff, he was out there every morning going through the drill work and the rehab with Britt Brown, and you're seeing all that hard work pay off. But very, very consistent. He's still a young player that's continued to grow. So he's done a heck of a job this year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you, everyone. Have a good
Mike.
night. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.